Welcome to Safe Money Retirement Radio with your host, Tim Wood. Tim is a certified financial fiduciary and a no-market risk retirement and income specialist, and the owner of SafeMoneyRetirement.com, primarily serving Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, and Southwest Virginia. But he's sought after nationally for his expertise in helping people secure their retirements. Mr. Wood is a licensed life insurance professional in multiple states and specializes in working with people who are near retirement and those who have already retired with wealth management, income planning, and asset protection strategies. And now, here to talk with you about no market risk retirement planning, your host, Tim Wood.
Welcome to Safe Money Retirement Radio. I'm Tim Wood, an asset and retirement protection specialist. I was thrilled to release my book, Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success, back in 2022. And I'm also thrilled to have journalist and podcast pioneer Doug Sandler with Turnkey Podcast Productions with me today to discuss the fourth chapter of my book. Doug, welcome to Safe Money Retirement Radio.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for inviting me back, and thank you for being here as well. And I'm super excited to be able to share with our listeners all of the great content that you have in the book. I love interviewing best-selling authors because I love to get the details about their stories that they share in the book. And you have some great stories in yours. I want to dive into chapter 4 called With a Little Help from Uncle Sam. Are you ready to dig in?
I am. We all need a little help from Uncle Sam.
Yes, we do. So, Tim, in this chapter, when people think of retirement and the government, I think they usually think about Social Security. What else is there for us to explore and talk about in this first pillar?
Yes, Social Security is a big piece, and you got to make sure you do Social Security right. Absolutely. But another big piece to someone's safe money retirement is Medicare, is making sure that you're making the right choices in Medicare because there are a lot of options. So that's another big piece. And then even another piece in there that will only affect a small percentage, but it will affect some, is Medicaid. And most people have no idea the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. They sound very familiar, very, very similar. And a lot of people get them confused and they think they're one and the same. They are not. They are nowhere close to one and the same. So basically understanding all three of those little mini sub-pillars, I guess you could call it, of this first pillar, Social Security, Medicare, and how Medicaid works, having all three of those and making sure all three are doing the absolute best they can for you in your specific situation is actually what you really need to do. And you need to work with someone that can help you do all of that.
All right. When we think about government and help, we always think about Social Security. When it comes to retirement, the big question is when you should start taking it. Is there really a right answer, or is there a wrong answer when you should start taking it?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, Doug, but I'll do my best to answer it. The first answer that I always give people is delay it or defer it as long as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you've gone on it, and if you're listening and you haven't, go onto the Social Security website, ssa.gov, and you can do a report, and it's going to show what your Social Security is going to be at 62, which is the first year you can take it. At your full retirement age, which is going to be between 66 and 67 based on when you were born, and then all the way down to 70. And you're getting a raise every single year that you wait to start taking Social Security, and that raise is for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be pretty substantial. Like, for example, between full retirement age and age 70, you're guaranteed to get an 8% raise every single year that you defer. And that's for the rest of your life. So now to go back to the question of, is there a right answer when to start taking it? I actually have access to software that we can plug in all kinds of variables, and it can come up and tell you what supposedly is going to be the best for you and blah, blah, blah. And that's great. And I'm willing to do that. I've got that. That's why I've got it. I do it for some people. But here's really, as Paul Harvey used to say, here's the rest of the story. Here's the real story. What I tell people really to do is to take your best guesses. How long do you think you're going to live? Now, I know that's a morbid subject most people don't want to think about. And most people say, well, only God knows. And you're right, only God knows. But look at your family history. If your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, everybody was living into their 80s or 90s, it might make sense to wait longer because you're going to get that more money for the rest of your life. But if a majority of your family is dying and you see a history of late 60s, early 70s, it might make sense to take it earlier. The reason I say that is there's usually a break even point somewhere between 80 and 83. In other words, if someone starts taking their Social Security at 62, yes, it's a lower amount, but they're getting the money versus taking it at 70, which it's a higher amount, but now you've waited 8 years to start. So that's where that break even, it comes somewhere between 80 and 83, that the amount of extra money that you're getting at 70 catches up with all the extra money you had gotten from starting at 62. So if you think you're going to die before 80, I'd start it earlier. There's a good chance in your family history, and even some people are even saying not even necessarily my family history anymore, because there's been so many advancements in medical,
Right.
things. So I'm not trying to avoid the
No,
question.
it's a
It's just
hard,
a hard question to answer, and it's
it's
something that each person has to look at individually.
ultimately it is extremely hard to answer because none of us have a crystal ball. So really the big
Right.
answer is it depends. And
Yeah.
because it is just one portion of your retirement plan, you need to talk to a professional like Tim to just get the overall picture. Don't rely just upon Social Security, rely upon the other things that make up the plan. And Tim is the guy to be able to do that with you. I want to talk about one of the things that people oftentimes forget about when it comes to retirement also, and it's the other income streams that you have that could potentially affect your Social Security income for as a retiree. So could you maybe share a little bit of your wisdom when it comes to that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I would say, just to finish up and to kind of tie this into the last question, that's the other thing that I always tell people about when to start Social Security. If you've got income right now and you don't need it, don't start it. Don't start it until you need it or until you get 70, because it doesn't grow any past 70. But to speak to what you just said, and I'm not going to put any numbers because they change every year, and I don't know when someone's going to be listening to this, but every year there's a maximum amount that you can make before you get to your full retirement age. And if you make more than that, they actually start taking money out of your Social Security checks. A lot
Mm.
of people don't know that. So you've got to talk to someone that knows what the current figures are for this year, and you can basically figure out, because some people think, oh, well, I'm going to be getting 25,000 from Social Security and I'm going to be working and making $25,000, so I'm making 50. No, you're not. So you've got to really know what those numbers are. And like I said, they change every single year, but basically there's a maximum that you can make. And if you make more than that, they start withholding from your Social Security checks. Now, you do get that money back once you get to full retirement age, but still it makes a difference in the meantime. And some people are planning on that. So yeah, there's, depending on where the income's coming from, what type of income it is, how much it is, that's going to affect how your Social Security comes in and if it's going to be reduced by any specific amounts.
This is a good time to mention, if for those of you that don't already have a copy of Tim's book, you're going to get all of this wisdom. It's going to be packed right into that book and all of the chapters there. Make sure you get a copy of Tim's book. Now is the time. He's offering his listeners just to this show a copy absolutely free, or by visiting his site, by logging on to safemoneyretirement.com or calling 844-905-SAFE. Don't miss out. Get one while they're still available. So head over to his website or call the number right now.
That was part 1 of my interview with Doug Sandler about my book in chapter 4, with a little help from Uncle Sam. Stay tuned next week for part 2. Well, I'm about out of time, and I would like to thank you for listening to Safe Money Retirement Radio. If you're serious about your financial future, give me a call, and together we'll get your retirement savings on the fast track to accumulate while reducing exposure to market risk. Thanks for listening, and until next time at the same time, I'm Tim Wood, reminding you to stay safe so you can step into a secure future.
You've been listening to Safe Money Retirement Radio with your host, Tim Wood. Find out how to guarantee that your hard-earned money is safe with locked-in returns that will never go down due to market risk, so you can have the future that you deserve. Call Tim Wood now for your free copy of his #1 best-selling book, Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success, along with the free Safe Money Retirement Information Kit at 844-905-SAFE. That's 844-905-SAFE. 7233 or visit him online for more details at safemoneyretirement.com. The preceding information does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. Surrender charges apply to base contracts. Optional lifetime income benefit riders are used to calculate lifetime payments only and are not available for cash surrender or in a death benefit unless specified in the annuity contract. Fees may apply. Guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the insurance company. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. Obviously, by calling us now, you are just taking the first step towards protecting your retirement. It's important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Rates and returns mentioned on this program are subject to change without notice.